I'd like to welcome now our first speaker of the day, Maaret Castren. And while Maaret's getting set up, let me give you a few words of introduction. If you look in your program, you can read there a bit of Maaret's biography, and it's outstanding. Maaret, you're a very special guest to have for many different reasons, and I don't want to enunciate them all now. But as the chair of the European Research Council, and as part of the board of ILCOR, you have a particular global view of what's happening, not just in Scotland, but all over the world, to try and change the fate of those who have out-of-hospital cardiac arrest. So can I invite you now just to share with us a little bit of what's happening from a global perspective. Thank you, Maaret.
Hyvää huomenta ja oikein mukava olla täällä. Paul said I should talk in Finnish because I'm the only one not having English as my native language. And as Gareth said, we need to let go of the past and start this difficult journey. I have to say that this lecture is one of the more difficult ones that I'm going to have. We usually have the PowerPoint to help us on the way, and many times I also talk in my own language. So this Congress or this meeting today is a difficult pathway for many of us. So even this is challenging, and I hope that we here that has taken the challenge to come here will also motivate you all to take challenges in your own work for the patients that we're trying to save. I come from Helsinki, which has a history of being one of the good places for cardiac arrest patients, and it is. We have a 25% survival rate in all rhythms, 57 of those that have VF and ends in a hospital goes home in good shape, and we have 70% bystander CPR, but we still have lots to do. This is a picture that I like to show in many places, and it shows actually the fact that resuscitation is not owned by any entity, which also means that some people think that it's not their thing to do. And as an example, one of my colleagues in a meeting where we were supposed to do the strategy for the university hospital in Helsinki came into the room and said, okay, we sat down now with the board of my clinic and we've decided that we're not going to take these patients. Sorry? So they've decided that they don't have any cardiac arrests on their wards ever. That's not their problem. Well, we sorted that out, and one thing I hope that we can globally do is to say that it is everybody's boat and we need to be it in together. And we've been talking with ILCOR and the Global Alliance Initiative also about the fact that we shouldn't only concentrate on the high resource countries. Even the low resource countries can do a lot of things for their cardiac arrests, like ventilation for little kids. Very many things can be done without the high technology that you can see in the room next door. So Scottish strategy says that you need to have a nation of lifesavers and a community that can respond all times. That is a dream, and sometimes we're afraid of dreaming because we think that it's dreaming about something that's impossible. And I really invite you all, Glasgow, Aberdeen, everybody here and all around the world, to actually dream as big as you want to, because we need those dreams. And I think that some of them can be true. And I know that there's people here that very much appreciate the fact that dreaming about saving lives is very, very realistic. So the 10 Steps Program Resuscitation Academy that we had here yesterday talks about, as the 10th step, culture of excellence. And that's the most difficult part, to nurture and create a culture of excellence. And what is a culture of excellence? We can not change patients. We cannot change the events where the patients get their cardiac arrest, but we can change the system. And your strategy says that we need to change our minds and hearts, and we need to shape a good care for the patients. And that's culture of excellence. So the culture is excellence is by definition something extraordinary, which means that mediocrity is not anymore something that we say it's okay. We shouldn't anymore talk about we did our best, because that's not enough. We need to do the absolute best for our patients, whichever part of the community or the nation we are in. A culture of excellence is a choice, which means that we should have the will to take that choice to be better than we were yesterday. And if we have a will, we always find a way. So what we have today is the current culture, and many of us think that it's a very good culture. We give good care for our patients. And to take the next step might be sometimes very hard, sometimes quite easy, but we need to take that step. And that means that we need to let go of the old ways of thinking. We should never say that we've always done it this way, and this is a good way. Or say that, oh, I don't think that will work, so we're not going to do that. That's too hazardous. We should try everything we can. And one thing that I be really put in bold here is that we should check our ego at the door. We should be altruistic in everything we do, and especially science and researchers should look at this point and try to do more work together, which of course means less gain for an individual, but bigger gain for everybody out there. I usually always like to also rock the boat a little bit and get people thinking about something that they may not have thought about before. And sad to say, the studies that I'm going to talk about are still the only ones in the world, and they're done by me and the group I work with. We talk about bystanders, laypersons, we talk about police, we talk about firemen, first responders, we talk about EMS systems, dispatchers. I have not yet heard in the Resuscitation Academy or the Global Alliance Initiative about something that I think is very, very important. All the healthcare professionals out there, they should be the ones that we can, with mobile phones, get dispatched to patients, wherever they work. And we know that EMS, maybe ICU, I say because I can tell you some stories about that too, are the people that actually are professionals when you talk about cardiac arrest. The rest of the healthcare professionals, they need training and help to do a better job than they do today. One example is here, a study that we did in Helsinki. I listened to all the 776 cardiac arrest calls in 1 year, and the absolute lousiest outcomes from calls came when doctors or nurses were the callers, like in group 1. You can see that the survival to hospital was least in that group. And it comes from the fact that dispatchers think that professionals know what they're talking about when they report a cardiac arrest. And all the studies, except for mine, actually excludes healthcare professionals when they look at the callers. And they shouldn't, because healthcare professionals may see one cardiac arrest in like 20 years. How could they know what to say on the phone? So the dispatchers should help them, and they should be treated as anybody who's calling in. 52 of these patients were in cardiac arrest, and the caller was a doctor or a nurse. And 3 of those had actually secondary signs of death. And the question to dispatcher was, we need a transport to the university hospital because this guy is really sick. So, I mean, we need to also train them to do better emergency calls, to do a better job wherever they are. This is about how we use the guidelines. Oulu helicopter doctors and Helsinki physician man unit, they are guys that make the guidelines in Finland. They train the paramedics to do the best job, and still only 50% of their own patients were treated like the guidelines says. And there's a study in Finland showing that 25% of the hospital doctors know the guidelines, which means that when they are the bystanders on the street, they don't have the best knowledge they should have helping the patient. 25% of those guys could use 30% of those guys could use an AED properly. So even if they would know where that machine would be, they would not have a clue of how to work that one. And we're talking about healthcare professionals, which I always think that you should talk about cardiac arrest professionals and then the rest of the healthcare professionals. We also know that 50% of nurses hesitate to start CPR, and 30% of paramedics and EMS personnel hesitate to start CPR because they're afraid of hurting the patient, even if they know that that person is actually dead if they don't do anything. And what if you hesitate? How fast do you start and how aggressively do you work if you have in your back head that this is not the best thing for the patient, I might hurt the patient? So we really need to help everybody also in the healthcare to be the bystanders we need them to be on the streets and to be a part of this community response team. So wherever we are, we should think about the whole like group as a team. And usually we're not that bad, but I thought that this is a good message that you should take your team from bad to badass, which means that we all have points where we can do better. You've heard about Seattle. Seattle is great, but even they lack the mobile phone dispatching system, which could take a notch up on their survival rates. So we all have something that we can improve, and we should really do that. And the most important thing is that you don't get a change if you're not part of that change. And that's maybe the hardest part, to say to yourself that what I do is good, but I need to do better. And that's what culture of excellence is, that you think about the better way of doing everything. And you have the courage to say that there might be a better way. Let's take and look at that. And like Garrett said, we need to be there together. And not only Scotland, not only Edinburgh, but Europe, globally, wherever we are, we might meet these patients. And it would be wonderful to then see that you're in a system that has this way of community responding and a nation of lifesavers. And I will stop here and say that I really congratulate Scotland for having, as I know, the first and only strategy, which is a nationwide strategy to actually do something about the problem. And the magnitude of the problem in Europe is 2 jumbo jets coming down every day. If that would happen today, we would have 2 jumbo jets coming down. We would put milliards into trying to find out why that happened and try to prevent that happening tomorrow. We should do that same effort for our cardiac arrest patients. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. That's excellent. There are two phrases I'm going to take away from today. Make my team from bad to badass. That's great. And thank you for rocking the boat for us. So now we've got a chance to ask you some questions, if that's okay. And please take the opportunity to tweet in if you're at one of the satellite locations. We have our tweet team here ready to take your call. There are very few people leading the field of out-of-hospital cardiac arrest resuscitation who have the passion and the experience and the perspective of Maaret. So please take the opportunity to ask us some questions. So do we have any questions from the floor?
Could we maybe, do we see if anybody's asking something?
It's a bit of a mystery, isn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe we could get the house lights up just slightly just so we can see,
just a little bit.
See what's happening.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great, thank you. We have a little mic, so if you have a question, we can run around with the mic to you. Just while folk are thinking of what they might want to ask Maaret, I wonder, from where you sit at the ERC and as part of ILCOR, what does the global landscape look like at the moment? The impression we get is that there are pockets of people all over the world who are beginning to push and change and try and do things differently. What's your perspective on that?
You're right. We have very many movements, like Restart the Heart Day, which is the 16th of October every year. That's fantastically big in some countries like Italy. We have the Global Alliance, which is a new initiative taken like maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, which actually takes Asia, Japan, and everybody in to try to see how we could implement the science that is around. ILCOR is building up a new strategy, trying to make it more open and transparent to communities to be a part, patients and the population to be able to step in and help us in evaluating the science and showing us what are the gaps in our knowledge. So it's very different than it was 10 years ago. And even the politicians, I mean, we have Germany, we have many other countries that has just taken in the kids' education in schools. And we have just made, with the Red Cross in Finland, we're going to go to the ministry during the summer and talk about that thing. And those are initiatives that WHO is supporting, which we didn't have years ago. 194 EU MEPs have signed a statement saying that this is something that we should concentrate on, that cardiac arrest you can be saved from, and you should put efforts in it. So yes, we have changed things.
Yeah, it's great. It's a good time to be part of a global movement. Excellent. Any other questions? Joel.
Hi, I'm Joel Simons. I'm a research paramedic here in Edinburgh. I'm interested in your statistic about 30% of EMS personnel hesitating to begin CPR. Is that thinking because they're afraid to harm the patient, because they're not recognizing a cardiac arrest, or because they don't want to begin resuscitation that they see as futile?
The first of these studies were made by Jo Kramer from Norway, with actually, I think there was, London was part of it, and they asked the paramedics in a survey how they felt about it. And also that study really showed that there's a hesitation and some kind of a thought that I might harm the patient if I start CPR. And I thought that, that was a little bit weird. So we kind of made the same survey and took also in nurses from in-hospital, like in-hospital nurses, and we got the same result. And in-hospital nurses actually, it was almost 50% saying that yes, when we asked, how do you feel about starting CPR? They said, I hesitate, yes. So I don't know, we haven't asked them, we haven't interviewed them to ask what that really comes from. But it's obvious that there is still some kind of a fear that even if that person is dead, I do something that harms the patient, because it is pretty physical to go and, like bang on somebody's chest. And I think that that's something we should see upon in our training and education, not only teaching them the skills, but also teaching them the courage to actually start as fast as you can.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Maaret, thank you for coming and sharing with us.
Yeah, and I'm inviting you to Reykjavik to come and ask more questions if Hekla doesn't make problems for us. And then the 18th of October this year, we're trying to make a Guinness record of resuscitating or training CPR at the same moment all over Europe. So I heard some initiatives yesterday about training 25,000 kids. I hope that could be done the 18th of October so that you're a part of the Guinness record.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Thanks.